Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. After talking to about 20 wingers, Arsenal have arrived at their priorities on the left wing position. Just like the striker, Arsenal are looking at three priorities for this position, and that is Rodrygo goes at Real Madrid, Nico Williams at Atletico Bilbao, and Anthony Gordon at Newcastle. This is according to The Athletic, and Arsenal will now make a move for their left winger this week after they have arrived at their final decision. We've looked at about 20 wingers within about 10 days this summer, and after that, Arsenal have decided that although Andrea Bata has been talking to a couple of players, a couple of management, and a couple of entreages, we are going to go with the final three and we shall sign one of them. Who are we going to sign? Who is the top target? Who do you want? Is Rodrygo? Is Nico Williams? Is Anthony Gordon? Each of them has got their own advantages. They're very, very different in terms of profile, if you ask me. In fact, and I think each of them provides Arsenal with a very different kind of dimension of looking at of football and how we would line up next season. But there is something that I like about Rodrygo and Anthony Gordon, and we'll talk about it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Are you happy that after talking to Mitoma, after talking to Semenyo, after talking to Rafinha, after talking to Kingsley Coman, after talking to Rafa Leao, Arsenal are ending up with these three, and of those three, we can only sign one. So who do you want it to be, right? Let me know. Well, the evidence says that this week Arsenal will be progressing with the moves to sign a centre forward and a left winger. And just like with the centre forward position, Arsenal are now looking at three targets, right? On the left wing, it's three targets. Let's start off with Rodrygo, because Rodrygo, according to Sky Sports, is now Arsenal's top target for the winger position. Remember, when we were coming into this summer, I think it was that was right from January, Nico Williams was seen as the official priority for Arsenal. But that was because as well, Andrea Bata had not been made sporting director at Arsenal by then, but also the Rodrygo market opportunity had not manifested by that time. The Rodrygo market opportunity manifests itself only after the appointment or only after the rumors that Xabi Alonso was going to be Real Madrid manager. And with Carlo Ancelotti leaving Alonso coming into Madrid, the future of Rodrygo becomes uncertain. And a couple of clubs start reaching out and asking about the situation. Now, Madrid want to sell, but we do not have an answer between Rodrygo and Xabi Alonso. But we're going to be talking about that. He is the top priority for Arsenal right about now. And for me, if this is Andrea Bata doing this, that is top mentality. That is top transfer business, because there is no way, I know and I understand that Nico Williams is a top player. I've watched him again in the finals of the UEFA of the UEFA Nations League against Portugal. Top player, absolute disgusting talent right there. But if you're signing Benjamin Sesko, a player that is still young, is going to need time to adapt, is a player that is still going to have a few things to iron out of his game, you then cannot sign Nico Williams, because Nico Williams and Benjamin Sesko are rightly so at the same level. I'm not saying both of them can't sign. They can, absolutely. I mean, Nico Williams, regardless of what you might think about him, he's still one of the best market opportunities available on the market. And we'll talk about him. But Rodrygo, the Rodrygo deal reminds me of the Kvaratskhelia deal in January. And Arsenal made a very big mistake not going for Kvaratskhelia. We don't know whether PSG would have beaten us to the signing, but there's a big chance that Arsenal maybe could have signed Kvaratskhelia, and that would have been a massive signing, and that would have been a massive, massive deal. So Rodrygo is a market opportunity, and Arsenal, just like the big club that we are, they have just reacted in the right way. If a talent like Rodrygo pops up, you don't listen to other targets. You don't give priority to any other target. You go for him. So why is Rodrygo trying to leave Madrid, and why are Madrid not trying to stand in his way? Usually, Madrid will give you the bad player. Honestly, they will give you the player that is washed, a player that they are tired of, or something like that. But this time, it is different. The truth is that Rodrygo is behind Vinicius Jr. and he is behind Kylian Mbappe in pecking order if Madrid were to choose a left winger. Vinicius has played there for quite some time. He's very comfortable there and is giving them the output and the numbers, and the input is insane and impeccable. But you've got a world-class Ballon d'Or gem in Kylian Mbappe who prefers drifting to the left-hand side every single time. And I won't be surprised if at some point in time Madrid sign a number 9, drift Kylian Mbappe to the left, and then shift Vinicius Jr. to the right. So Rodrygo, however talented you are, however good you are, however reliable you are, he's not anywhere close to Mbappe. And he's not anywhere close to Vinicius Jr. So he's saying, I want to leave Madrid and go and play, in a place where I can be given priority, in a place where I can play on the left wing. That's where I want to play. Now, of course, Madrid will want to raise money. They have made a couple of signings already this summer. Dean Huijsen, £50 million. That's about what? That's about 65 million euros or 67 million euros. That is one signing. They have also done, I think, 2 defenders as well. They've signed about 3 defenders this summer. And we don't know whether they are going to make more signings. But one thing we know for sure is that they will need to make some money, and Rodrygo is that opportunity for them to make good money. So Rodrygo, for me, if he comes into Arsenal, I think we have a world-class player arriving from Spain, and he would take this team and our attack to the next level. What are our 2 problems again? Our 2 problems: dealing with the mid-block and dealing with the low block. There is something that interested me when I was watching the Spain-Portugal final. And that was Portugal trying to set up in kind of a mid-block situation. They never wanted to invite Spain near their penalty area. So what they did, they kind of set up in that kind of mid-block shape, just to make sure that Spain are not too close to their penalty area. And what Luis de la Fuente did, which is kind of genius of him, he used the abilities of Nico Williams. And we'll talk about Nico Williams, because in that game, I saw why Mikel Arteta is obsessed with him. I saw why Nico Williams would be a very good signing for Arsenal, but also Rodrygo would be a very good signing for Arsenal. So literally what was happening was, because Spain have so many technically gifted players, especially on the ball, Zubimendi, Pedri, Dean Huijsen, Robin Lenormand, they were literally just playing that ball over the top, over that Portuguese defense. And in behind, there were acres of space to exploit. There were acres of space to run into. And Nico Williams had the best night. Of course, we didn't win it, but Nico Williams looked so good when Spain were doing that. And it also kind of explains why Lamine Yamal was ineffective in that game. So I want you to think about Spain and Arsenal. Yamal is Bukayo Saka. When Saka is closer to goal, if you give him a chance to get to attack you closer to goal, he's a deadly weapon. But if Saka is far away from goal, especially the fact that he receives balls in a flat-footed situations, he's not going to do much damage. So you need a player that has got speed, that can sprint onto balls that have been played over the top. That is why you're signing Martinez Zubimendi. That is why the likes of Gabriel and Saliba and Declan Rice are in this team. They have the ability to play that ball over the top over and over again. And I think Rodrygo would give us a combination of a solution to a mid-block and a solution to a low block as well. Here's why. Rodrygo has got this Brazilian technique that can just cut bodies. He can just cut through bodies in a low block. We've seen it at Real Madrid. He doesn't care how many you are He doesn't care how many are there. He will go through. He will find a way. And we need that player. We've already said that Arsenal need a player that really doesn't care about how difficult the game is becoming. He can go and do it on his own. That is Rodrygo. Now, with Nico Williams, I've just talked about Nico. There is something that Nico struggles with, and it kind of reminds me of Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli is basically toothless if there is no space to run into. Like, if you don't have a lot of space to run into and behind, he is toothless. Now, of course, Mikel after signing Nico Williams, he will have to adapt his game. I think Arsenal will play intentionally on transitions more, and we'll have to catch teams on the break a little bit more because we have a player that allows to do that in Nico Williams. But when it comes to low blocks, when it comes to teams that pack the bus, Nico Williams is as effective as Gabriel Martinelli. So for me, I understand why he has dropped in pecking order. Like, Rodrygo is the solution Arsenal need, and Nico Williams is the solution that Arsenal can craft into a better player. He can become better. He's got the skill set, but he kind of loses his abilities if there is no space to run into. Anthony Gordon. Now, with Anthony Gordon, I like Anthony Gordon. Really, I do. The reason that's why I like Anthony Gordon, he's got the speed, but goals. Goals. I think this Arsenal team needs a front line that can give us a combined 45 goals. That's the truth. Because I tell you, if you have Gordon giving you 15, Shesko 15, and Saka 15, and that is very possible, by the way, in the Premier League just alone. That is very possible. If you have 45 goals across the front line, you're going to have maybe, 9 from Kai Havertz, about 8 from Declan Rice, 8 from Martin Odegaard. The goals are they're gonna add up. That's the truth. And of course, you've got set pieces, likes of Mikel Merino, the likes of Gabriel Magalhaes, William Saliba, and the others. So I like Anthony Gordon because he scores goals. So those are the 3. But quickly, I wanted to run through the list and why we didn't go for these guys, and maybe just share with you the names that some of them you know, some of them you don't know. We were interested in them. Number 1 is Rafael, but I think this one is because of the price. They want 80 million fixed, and the total package could raise up to 100 million euros. I don't know, but I'm also with Arsenal. With Rafael going for 100 million euros, I don't think it's a bad deal. But I think it's a deal that Arsenal can walk away from and we don't regret. Mohamed Kudus is one that Arsenal have talked about. We have also held some internal talks with West Ham, according to the ex-West Ham employee, but they want 80 million. 80 million pounds. Arsenal are willing to spend about 60 to 70 on him. I think that one is also because of the price. Lookman, I think Arsenal have not gone for Lookman because Rodrygo is better. Nico Williams has a higher ceiling than Lookman. And Anthony Gordon, for me, is better than Lookman. That's the simple reason. Karim Mitoma. I think with Mitoma, 2 seasons ago, Arsenal would be dying to sign him. But this summer, he's coming off a couple of injuries. We have not really seen that Mitoma that we saw about in the 23 season, in the 2023 season. We have not seen that Mitoma in 2024 and in 2025 yet. Anton Semenyo is the price, 75 million, that's too much. Rashford, it's a risk that you don't have to do. He's not a bad player, but it's a risk that you can actually stay away from. Sancho, I don't know whether Arsenal were really interested. We were linked, but I don't know whether we were really interested. Kingsley Coman, Some reports said Arsenal were interested, some reports said Arsenal were not interested, but I think it's the injury record that you've got to stay away from him. Rafinha, Barcelona were never going to sell. Never going to sell. Never in a million years. Garnacho, if you have Gabriel Martinelli, why would you sign Garnacho? Honestly. Then you have Jamie Gittens, but I think Gittens, good price. I would rather go with Nico Williams. They've got the same price. If Nico Williams is doable, then I would sign Nico Williams over Jamie Gittens. I know people like him. Chelsea are in talks to sign him. Let's see how good he is. But for me, nah.